Stop explaining your evolution to people who haven't even survived their own plot twists. That line isn't meant to be poetic. It's a warning. Because every time life hits you hard, people quietly wait for the predictable script. The breakdown, the meltdown, the rage, the messy unraveling. They expect you to crumble publicly so they can whisper privately. They want the spectacle, not the strength. But you didn't give them any of it. Psychologists say the human brain can replay emotional pain 5 times longer than physical pain. Yet somehow you managed to move through what should have broken you without getting stuck in the usual loops. No dramatic pause, no emotional detour, no Yelp review about who hurt you. You skipped grief, ignored anger, walked past revenge like it was a sale you weren't interested in, and went straight into becoming someone unrecognizable, someone legendary. And that's what unsettles people the most, because when someone handles pain with that level of composure, it exposes who's built on self-mastery and who's built on chaos. Some people need drama the way plants need sunlight. Without it, they wilt. Meanwhile, you treated the chaos like spam mail. Not today, thanks, and kept it moving. This wasn't coldness. It wasn't denial. It was evolution with good timing and even better intuition. You realize the emotional detours most people take are just distractions wrapped in big reactions. You chose the direct route, the one nobody teaches because hardly anyone survives long enough to walk it. And yes, people will call it mysterious, intimidating, or concerning, because nothing terrifies the unhealed like someone who heals fast and walks forward faster. But that's the beauty of your journey. You didn't skip the emotions. You simply refused to let them run the show. So now we unfold the truth behind that transformation, how you leapt over grief, anger, and revenge, and landed straight in your legend era without missing a step. Number 1, you didn't bypass emotions. You outgrew the level where they controlled you. You didn't skip grief or anger like they were optional classes. The difference is subtle but life-altering. Most people let their emotions dictate the story of their lives. They live in loops of reaction, getting pulled left and right by every slight, every betrayal, every disappointment. But you reached a stage where those emotions still existed, but they no longer ran the show. You felt them fully, acknowledged their presence, and then chose to step beyond them. That is not avoidance. That is mastery. It's a rare kind of strength, the kind that quietly terrifies others because it looks effortless. You moved through pain in a way that didn't leave debris for the world to stumble over. You didn't explode. You didn't brood. You didn't turn your anger into a vendetta or your grief into a story everyone else had to hear. You understood that letting emotions control your reactions is like letting a fire dictate where your house should be built. It's chaotic, destructive, and unnecessary. Instead, you let the fire warm you, teach you, refine you, and then step out of the heat when it had done its work. This isn't something taught in schools. It isn't something social media influencers can sell you in a 30-second clip. It comes from facing the rawest parts of yourself, staring at the hurt that could break you, and deciding that breaking wasn't your style. You allowed yourself to feel, to process, and to extract value without letting it own you. You developed a filter that separates the signal from the noise, the meaningful pain from the pointless theatrics. And here's the secret most people miss. Outgrowing the level where emotions control you doesn't make you unfeeling. It makes you precise. It makes you rare. While others are busy drowning in their own storms, you're already walking forward with a clarity that almost feels unfair. You didn't bypass grief or anger. You elevated past the point where they could derail your trajectory. That elevation is what turns ordinary endurance into something unforgettable. You didn't just survive, you evolved. Number 2, you realized revenge is just grief in disguise. Revenge looks powerful from the outside. It's the cinematic moment everyone talks about, the one where you finally get back at someone who wronged you. But the truth is far less glamorous. Revenge is just grief wearing armor, pretending it's strength. It's pain that hasn't been named or processed, wrapped up in actions that make you feel like you're in control, when in reality, the control is an illusion. You saw that early, and that's why you refused to step onto that trap. Most people mistake the act of retaliation for liberation. They think taking someone down will erase the hurt, but what it really does is double it. It ties you to the very thing you want to escape from. Every act of revenge is a leash on your own freedom. You realize that the only way to truly move forward is to meet grief for what it is: raw, uncomfortable, and unavoidable, and to let it teach you rather than tempt you into destruction. You understood that pain is a teacher, not an enemy. When you process grief fully, it loses the power to manipulate you. Anger fades when it's recognized for what it is, not when it's acted out on someone else. And revenge becomes pointless, because the hurt that once demanded repayment has already been acknowledged and released. That's why you didn't need to retaliate. Your power wasn't proven by taking someone down. It was proven by refusing to let their actions define your path or your peace. What most people never grasp is that avoiding revenge doesn't make you passive. It makes you precise. It makes you untouchable in ways others will never understand. While others waste time and energy circling back to hurt, you've already moved into a higher plane where growth, focus, and clarity replace the chains of resentment. You realized that true mastery isn't in how you respond to someone else's failings. It's in how you handle your own pain. And by treating grief as a teacher instead of a weapon, you unlocked a kind of freedom that revenge could never give you. Number 3, you found the truth that ruins most people. Not everything deserves a reaction. This is a lesson that sounds simple, but it's a knife edge most people trip over. Life constantly throws things at you. Insults, betrayals, disappointments, moments that scream for a reaction. Most people treat these like emergencies, flipping switches in their brains that demand an immediate response. They argue, they lash out, they stew, they broadcast their hurt, and in doing so, they surrender control over their lives to everything and everyone around them. You saw this trap, and you refused to fall into it. Not reacting doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending things don't matter. It means recognizing what truly deserves your energy and what doesn't. You became surgical with your attention. You realized that responding to every slight or injustice isn't courage, it's chaos. Every unnecessary reaction pulls you out of your forward momentum and drags you back into someone else's story. You chose to keep your energy for what actually moves you forward, for the battles that matter, for the moments that shape your legacy. This awareness changes how people perceive you. Others might call it coldness, indifference, or even arrogance, but it's really mastery. You aren't numb. You just refuse to let every jab, every slight, every petty drama dictate your behavior or shake your peace. While everyone else is playing chess with invisible opponents, you're 3 moves ahead, watching the board, deciding which battles are worth your time. What makes this truly transformative is how it rewires your life. You stop reacting for validation, for anger, for revenge, for distraction. You stop feeding the small fires that others want to see blaze. You step out of the noise, and suddenly your presence alone carries weight. People notice it. Opportunities notice it. Life notices it. You realize that power isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about conserving it for the moments that actually define who you are. And in that refusal to react to what doesn't deserve it, you begin to move like a force others can't touch, a force that only grows stronger with every choice to rise above the unnecessary. Number 4, You learned that some battles don't require courage, just clarity. Most people mistake courage for heroism, imagining that every challenge demands bravery, risk, and a show of strength. They believe that standing their ground or fighting back is the only measure of worth. But the truth you discovered is far sharper. Not every battle is yours to fight, and not every conflict needs blood or noise to prove something. What separates someone ordinary from someone legendary isn't how many battles they enter, but how clearly they see which ones are worth stepping into. Clarity is quiet, but it carries a force that courage alone can't match. Courage without clarity can lead you into chaos, into traps cleverly disguised as victories, or into fights that only exhaust your power. You realize that understanding the stakes, the players, and the outcome before lifting a finger is more valuable than showing up fearless in every minor drama life throws your way. You started recognizing the patterns that most people miss, the subtle manipulations, the empty provocations, the petty distractions masquerading as emergencies. This is why legends often appear unshakable. It's not that they aren't affected by what happens around them. It's that they've learned to measure each moment with precision. They don't burn energy proving themselves in battles that don't define their path. Instead, they conserve their strength, stepping in only when the fight matters and walking away without guilt when it doesn't. That level of discernment turns life into a chessboard where every move counts and every misstep has consequences. The irony is that most people think bravery is noisy, visible, and aggressive. Clarity, by contrast, is silent and unyielding. It looks like patience, like restraint, like inaction, but it's actually a kind of force that guarantees results without wasting resources. You realize that true power isn't measured by how boldly you swing. It's measured by how wisely you choose when to swing at all. By mastering clarity, you outmaneuvered countless unnecessary fights and transformed potential chaos into precision. That's how some battles end before they even begin. And that's how you rose above the noise, untouched, untangled, and unmistakably in control. Number 5, you discovered that emotional self-control is the highest form of rebellion. Most people think rebellion is loud, visible, and dramatic. They imagine storming through life, screaming at injustice, burning bridges, and proving themselves to anyone watching. But the real rebellion, the kind that shakes the foundations of the ordinary, is quiet, invisible, and internal. It's emotional self-control, the ability to feel everything without letting it dictate your actions. You learned that true power isn't in giving in to every impulse or responding to every slight. It's in sitting with your emotions, fully aware of them, and still choosing your own path. When grief, anger, and frustration rise, most people think reacting is inevitable. They believe feeling deeply means acting immediately. But you realize that acting on every surge of emotion is actually a form of surrender. You surrendered to no one. You experienced the anger, absorbed the hurt, acknowledged the betrayal, but you didn't let any of it decide your next step. You became the master of your inner world. That's rebellion against the most controlling force imaginable, your own instincts and society's expectation to respond like everyone else. What's striking is how this kind of self-control changes the way the world interacts with you. People start projecting their assumptions onto you, calling you detached, cold, or unapproachable. They don't see that your calm is not indifference. It's intentional. Your restraint is a statement that no one, not even life itself, has the authority to manipulate your emotional compass. You became untouchable in ways that brute force or drama could never achieve. Emotional self-control also rewires your relationships and your influence. While others react impulsively and leave destruction in their wake, you respond selectively and strategically. You're not hiding behind stoicism. You're wielding precision, choosing when, where, and how to engage. That's the quiet rebellion that leaves the loudest impact. You didn't just rise above chaos. You became proof that controlling yourself is the ultimate way to control the outcome of every situation. And in mastering your emotions, you've claimed a kind of power most people never even recognize as possible. Number 6, you understood that walking away isn't weakness. It's timing mastery. Walking away is often mistaken for surrender, for giving up, or for lacking the strength to fight. But the truth you discovered is sharper, more precise. Leaving at the right moment is one of the rarest forms of power. It's not about abandoning a challenge or fleeing pain. It's about recognizing that your energy is too valuable to waste on things that won't serve your evolution. You didn't walk away because you were defeated. You walked away because you understood the invisible math of timing, the equation most people never see until it's too late. Most people throw themselves at problems, conflicts, and toxic dynamics, believing endurance is equivalent to strength. They stay, struggle, and exhaust themselves, trying to prove loyalty, worth, or courage. But endurance without discernment is just exhaustion in disguise. You saw the difference early. You saw that sometimes the bravest act is to step off the battlefield entirely, not out of fear, but out of strategy. Leaving on your own terms is not an act of retreat. It's an act of authorship. You decide when a chapter ends, instead of letting life or others dictate the narrative. Walking away also rewires perception. People expect drama, confrontation, or visible struggle. When you simply step away, without spectacle or justification, it unsettles them. It demonstrates control that can't be argued with, a clarity that can't be interrupted, and a confidence that refuses to beg for validation. Timing becomes your weapon, and patience becomes your shield. You've turned the simple act of leaving into a statement louder than any words could convey. This mastery also protects your trajectory. Energy lost in the wrong fight is energy you'll never get back. By walking away when it mattered, you preserved your focus, your strength, and your vision. You didn't just remove yourself from chaos, you elevated yourself above it, turning what others see as passivity into a strategic move that only someone who truly understands life's rhythms could make. In mastering when to leave, you didn't shrink, you ascended. You became untouchable, not through confrontation, but through timing and self-respect. Number 7, you stopped trying to fix people who benefit from staying broken. There's a harsh truth most people avoid. Some people don't want to be helped. They thrive on their own chaos, and for them, the world only makes sense when everyone around them is off balance too. Most of us get trapped believing that love, loyalty, or persistence can change them. We throw our energy at people who are designed to keep taking, never giving. And the more we give, the deeper the drain becomes. You realized early that trying to fix those who don't want fixing is not generosity. It's self-sabotage. It's not coldness or cruelty. It's clarity. You stopped wasting hours, days, even years trying to reconstruct a person who sees their brokenness as advantage. People like that don't heal because they don't want to. They cling to their flaws, their grudges, their toxicity, because it gives them identity, control, or a sense of purpose. You saw that offering guidance, patience, or emotional labor was only feeding a system designed to drain you. The more you tried, the more entangled you became in their self-perpetuated chaos. By stepping back, you didn't just preserve your energy, you recalibrated your life. You stopped making someone else's journey your responsibility. You didn't become uncaring, you became discerning. You understood that every act of rescue you attempt for those who resist it is an act of surrender to their narrative, a surrender that costs you your peace, focus, and growth. This realization transforms your relationships. You begin to invest only in people who are willing to meet you halfway, who are capable of growth, reflection, and reciprocity. And as you let the rest fall away, You notice the freedom it brings. You're no longer chained to other people's refusal to evolve. You've turned your attention inward, building, refining, and protecting what actually matters, yourself. In letting go of those who thrive on being broken, you didn't abandon anyone. You elevated yourself. And in that elevation, you discovered the rare, unmistakable power of refusing to be anyone's crutch, teacher, or savior when they aren't ready to stand on their own. Number 8, you saw that disappointment is a compass, not a setback. Most people treat disappointment like a roadblock, something to curse, fight, or mourn endlessly. They see it as evidence that life is unfair, that they've been wronged, or that they've failed. But you discovered a far more powerful truth. Disappointment isn't an obstacle. It's a signal, a compass, pointing directly to where your focus, energy, or choices need to shift. Every letdown, every unexpected betrayal, every plan that fell apart wasn't a punishment. It was information, and learning to read it changed the way you navigate life entirely. Disappointment teaches with precision. It doesn't just sting for no reason. It shows you the cracks in your expectations, the weaknesses in your trust, and the gaps between where you are and where you need to be. Most people ignore these lessons because they're too caught up in the pain, too busy blaming themselves or others, or too distracted by anger and frustration. You didn't run from it. You met it, studied it, and used it to recalibrate your direction. That's why, while others are still lamenting what went wrong, you're already plotting where to go next. This mindset turns setbacks into acceleration. Instead of losing time, energy, or focus to bitterness, you extract clarity. You begin to understand patterns, predict outcomes, and align yourself with what actually serves your growth. Disappointment stops being a stop sign and becomes a map. Every emotional sting becomes a marker, a signal that guides you toward decisions that elevate rather than drain you. And here's the rare part most people never see. When you treat disappointment as a compass, it builds resilience without the usual struggle. Pain doesn't linger, mistakes don't haunt, losses don't crush. You gain precision in your choices and freedom in your mindset. You don't just survive life's setbacks, you leverage them, using them to sharpen your instincts, hone your strategy, and move faster and higher than anyone who treats disappointment like an enemy. In mastering this, you transform the emotional weight of life into a tool that points you relentlessly toward your own legend. Number 9. You accepted that loyalty from the wrong people is just a slower form of sabotage. Loyalty is one of the most misunderstood currencies in life. Most people assume that anyone standing beside them is on their side, that proximity equals allegiance, and that those who call themselves friends or supporters are trustworthy. You realized early that this is a dangerous illusion. Loyalty from the wrong people isn't devotion, it's camouflage. It's a slow, quiet form of sabotage, hidden in smiles, in words of encouragement, in appearances of support. They might nod along, offer advice, or show up when convenient, but when the moment truly matters, they vanish, mislead, or betray. Recognizing this is brutal, but it's also liberating. The painful truth is that some people benefit from your trust, energy, and patience while secretly undermining you. They don't wear obvious masks. They operate in shades of gray that only become visible over time. Most people ignore the signs because facing this reality is uncomfortable. They cling to the illusion of loyalty, thinking it protects them, when in fact, it endangers them. You didn't make that mistake. You learned to read the subtle shifts, the inconsistencies, the actions that contradicted words. You became attuned to the difference between genuine alignment and convenient attachment. This realization transformed your interactions. You stopped investing in loyalty that couldn't be verified through consistent action. You stopped expecting reciprocity from people who were never capable of it. Every relationship became a test of authenticity, and every connection was measured not by promises but by reliability. That precision gave you freedom. You no longer wasted energy on those who secretly eroded your foundation. By refusing to accept false loyalty, you elevated yourself above manipulation. You created a space where only genuine allies could enter, where intentions matched actions, and where trust was a currency you could actually control. That's why legends move differently. They don't fear betrayal. They anticipate it and protect themselves by refusing to mistake convenience or pretense for loyalty. You didn't just survive the hidden sabotage of others. You outpaced it, neutralized it, and carved a realm where your energy is spent only on what actually strengthens you. Number 10. You realized your destiny was too expensive to pay for with emotional chaos. Life throws more than just challenges. It throws distractions, conflicts, and emotional storms that can consume your focus if you let them. Most people respond to these storms instinctively, with anger, frustration, revenge, or endless rumination. They expend precious energy on drama that has no value, paying an invisible toll in time, mental clarity, and future potential. You understood early on that the cost of letting emotional chaos dictate your life is far higher than most are willing to admit. Your destiny, your purpose, the level you were meant to reach, it was too expensive to waste on anything less than strategic energy. You didn't ignore the emotional turbulence. You didn't pretend it didn't exist. You felt the grief, anger, and disappointment fully, but you treated them like raw material, not like a currency to spend recklessly. Every surge of emotion was assessed, processed, and either transformed into insight or released entirely. You realized that letting your attention drift toward petty conflicts or grudges is like paying $1 million debt with pocket change, ineffective, exhausting, and ultimately worthless. This mindset sharpened your focus in ways that others could never understand. While people around you were entangled in cycles of emotional drama, replaying arguments, nursing wounds, or plotting revenge, you were moving forward with a clarity they could not see. You turned pain into guidance, setbacks into recalibration, and moments of betrayal into lessons in strategy. Emotional chaos became something you observed and learned from, not something you fed. By refusing to spend your energy recklessly, you built an armor of precision. Every thought, every choice, every reaction was measured against the price of your future. This isn't coldness or detachment. It's intelligence. It's the understanding that the higher you aim, the more selective you must be about what you allow to consume you. You realize that some battles, some people, and some dramas are not worth the currency of your peace, your time, or your destiny. By mastering this, you protected your trajectory and ensured that every step you take is towards something greater, not weighed down by the unnecessary. Number 11. You embraced the quiet truth. Emotional intelligence creates a different breed of power. Most people confuse power with volume, aggression, or control over others. They think dominance is loud, visible, and often destructive. What you discovered, however, is far rarer and far more effective. Emotional intelligence is the form of power that doesn't need to be announced. It's the ability to feel everything fully: pain, anger, disappointment, betrayal, and still respond with precision, strategy, and intention. It's the kind of power that moves silently, but shifts the world around you in ways no force or drama ever could. Emotional intelligence isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about understanding them, dissecting them, and using them as tools rather than weapons. Most people react to every surge of emotion, letting anger dictate action or letting sadness anchor them in defeat. You saw that those reactions are expensive, inefficient, and limiting. You trained yourself to recognize every emotional cue as information, a signal about yourself, about others, and about the landscape around you. This allowed you to respond in ways that elevated your position, protected your peace, and expanded your influence without anyone even realizing the depth of your mastery. The subtlety of this power is what makes it dangerous to the untrained eye. People often mistake your composure for indifference, your restraint for weakness. They don't see that every decision you make is informed by a complex internal understanding of motives, patterns, and consequences. Emotional intelligence gave you clarity, foresight, and control over scenarios that would derail most people. It's not showy, it's surgical. This kind of power transforms relationships, decisions, and outcomes. You don't need to assert dominance because the energy you conserve, the insight you apply, and the restraint you practice naturally positions you above conflict. You influence without forcing, guide without controlling, and move through challenges with a precision that looks effortless. Emotional intelligence doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how life itself responds to you. By mastering this, you've become part of a rare breed, a type of power that is understated, enduring, and undeniably effective. It's the kind of power that legends are quietly built on. Number 12. You recognize that some endings are promotions in disguise. Endings feel final. They feel heavy. They make you question everything you believed in, everything you worked for, and everything you trusted. Most people collapse under the weight of endings, seeing them as failures or losses. But you discovered the rare truth. Some endings aren't closures. They're upgrades. They are promotions disguised as heartbreak, betrayal, or disappointment, quietly reshaping your life to make space for what you were really meant to have. You realize that endings have a language of their own. They speak in the absence of people, opportunities, and patterns that no longer serve you. Most people panic at that silence, trying to hold on to what is slipping, refusing to acknowledge the subtle nudges that life gives them. You, however, learned to read those signals. You didn't resist the endings. You observed them. You understood that when someone walks away, when doors close, when plans fail, the universe isn't punishing you. It's redirecting you. What's gone isn't just lost. It's making room for something bigger, sharper, and more aligned with the version of yourself you are becoming. This perspective changes everything. Loss stops feeling like deprivation and starts feeling like strategy. Betrayal stops being a wound and starts being a filter, separating what's authentic from what's illusory. Every ending becomes a checkpoint, a recalibration of your path rather than a deviation from it. People who stay stuck in endings miss this. They linger on what was, replaying pain, regret, and what-ifs, blind to the fact that life is quietly promoting them, quietly handing them the next stage they wouldn't have reached if they clung to the past. The most powerful part of this understanding is the freedom it brings. You no longer chase what's gone, no longer beg for people, places, or opportunities that have naturally expired. Instead, you step forward with clarity, knowing that every ending is an initiation into a higher version of yourself. You've learned to trust the timing of life, to see endings as elevations, and to recognize that sometimes losing one chapter is exactly what you needed to start writing the next one. A chapter that builds the legend you were always meant to become. Number 13. You realize that letting life correct people is more efficient than revenge ever could be. Most people react to betrayal, lies, or betrayal with immediate action. They plot, they retaliate, they try to micromanage outcomes, thinking that their personal intervention is necessary to set things right. What you discovered, however, is far more powerful. Life has its own timing, its own justice system, and often it corrects people far more efficiently than any act of revenge ever could. You don't need to chase payback because the universe already keeps score, and its corrections are precise, unavoidable, and uncorrupted by ego. Revenge is messy, costly, and short-sighted. It requires energy, attention, and emotional investment, often keeping you tied to the very person or situation you want to move past. Life's way, on the other hand, is cleaner. It creates natural consequences for actions, without the noise of bitterness or the traps of retaliation. You realized that your time and energy are far too valuable to spend constructing outcomes that the universe will deliver more efficiently on its own. By stepping back, you let people experience the results of their own choices, and in doing so, you maintain your peace, your focus, and your power. This doesn't mean inaction or passivity. It means strategy. It means understanding that some battles don't require your hands to be involved. You became an observer, measuring outcomes, tracking patterns, and watching life's justice unfold with a patience most people can't sustain. Meanwhile, others are caught in cycles of revenge, replaying wrongs and multiplying their own stress. You, however, remain untangled, free, and several steps ahead. The brilliance of this realization is that it elevates you beyond petty cycles. You no longer define your victories by who you've punished or who you've humiliated. You define them by your ability to rise above, to conserve energy, and to remain aligned with your purpose. Life corrects what is crooked faster than anger ever could. You've learned to trust that process, to focus on your growth rather than anyone else's failure, and to let the universe handle the balance. In doing so, you step into a realm of power that revenge could never provide, one that is calm, precise, and unstoppable. Number 14. You elevated because pain didn't make you bitter. It made you accurate. Most people let pain harden them, twist them, and cloud their judgment. They become reactive, defensive, and untrusting. Pain becomes their lens, coloring every thought and every action, and they mistake that bitterness for wisdom or strength. You took a radically different path. Pain didn't embitter you, it refined you. It sharpened your perception, honed your instincts, and gave you a clarity that most people never achieve. Where others see chaos, you see patterns. Where others see betrayal, you see a lesson. Where others see setbacks, you see direction. You didn't ignore your pain. You felt it, processed it, and allowed it to teach you without letting it control you. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every insult, and every betrayal became data points, signals about yourself, about others, and about the world around you. Pain became a tool rather than a trap. You learned to read it, decode it, and let it inform your next move with precision. That's the difference between someone who survives life and someone who dominates it quietly and effectively. This kind of refinement changes the way you operate. Decisions that once might have been impulsive or emotional are now deliberate. People who would normally manipulate or distract you no longer find leverage because your accuracy leaves no gaps. Every interaction, every choice, every step is measured and intentional. You move with a clarity that comes from understanding yourself, your boundaries, and the patterns of human behavior on a level most people never reach. The most extraordinary part of this transformation is how invisible it is. People may see your calm, your composure, your efficiency, and assume it's luck, intelligence, or detachment. They don't realize it's pain turned into precision, bitterness transformed into insight. That's why you rise above, untouchable, and unmistakable. You didn't just survive the storms of life, you decoded them. Pain didn't break you, it didn't make you bitter, it made you accurate, surgical, and unstoppable. And that accuracy is what separates legends from the rest. The journey through grief, anger, betrayal, and temptation isn't linear, And it certainly isn't easy. Most people get stuck in the noise, reacting impulsively, feeding cycles of revenge or letting disappointment weigh them down. But the path you've walked is different. You didn't skip the emotions, you mastered them. You transformed pain into precision, grief into clarity, anger into understanding, and betrayal into insight. Every setback became a lesson, every ending a promotion, and every challenge an opportunity to rise higher than the chaos around you. You learned to conserve your energy, choose your battles wisely, and let life's natural course correct what doesn't serve you, all while maintaining a quiet, untouchable power that most people will never comprehend. This isn't just survival. This is evolution. This is elevation. Legends aren't defined by the absence of struggle. They are defined by how they navigate it, with intelligence, patience, and unwavering focus. You've walked the line between pain and growth and emerged with clarity, strength, and an authority over your own life that no external force can shake. Every decision you make now carries weight. Every step is intentional, and every interaction is measured. You are no longer trapped by the past, dictated by others' expectations or pulled into unnecessary chaos. You are operating from a level most only dream of, and it shows in every move, every reaction, and every outcome. If this resonates with you, if it sparks that recognition that you too are capable of this level of mastery, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to the channel to continue walking this path of growth and insight. Like the video if it hit you where it matters. Comment your thoughts or experiences to join the conversation, and share it with anyone ready to step beyond the ordinary and embrace their own evolution. This is the mindset of legends, and now you know what it takes to rise. Stay blessed, always.